Okay, thank you everybody for tuning in. It is an awesome time, a couple of days before fight night. You can feel the excitement building in the air. We were talking a little bit about it. You can't put your finger on it, but there is this big buzz happening here in town because USFFC 29 is coming. Saturday night at the Spartanburg Marriott. I'm Matt Tomlinson. Alongside me is the promoter, the man himself, Scott Price, and we're going to break down the card for you. Scott, good to see you, man.
Oh, yeah. Great. Yeah, it's good to be back.
We have an amazing card. Scott has once again pulled out all the stops, pulled no punches, and put together an awesome lineup of fights coming at USFFC 29 at the Spartanburg Marriott this Saturday. And just to break down a couple, I don't even know where to start, so I guess I'll start sort of at the beginning of the card. So you want to be here early, you don't want to miss these lead-off fights. Of course, you know, Jay Boyd. I wonder, how'd you find this guy, Scott? Jay Boyd takes on Mike Lyons. Here's a guy that is not just an ex-collegiate athlete, but also an ex-NFL athlete. I mean, this is the guy that has made it to the height of the athletic potential of humans. He's made it to the NFL, and now he's fighting here at the USFFC.
Yeah, Jay is he's an athlete. There's no doubt about it. He's got the quickness, the explosion, and he's an all-around good guy, so I like to work with Jay, and I like to work with his team. On the flip side of that coin with Mike Lyons and TFTC, I feel like after his last performance, this kid is like, he could go all the way to the top with no doubt. So just the athleticism alone in this fight is what makes it so exciting for me.
It's awesome because you've got a guy like Jay Boyd who is coming up the ladder in the right way. He's not rushing it. You know, he's taking some of these fights and taking fights against guys that are on his level. Yeah. But, you know, Mike Lyons comes from a very renowned camp, TFTC in Raleigh. So this is not going to be an easy stepping stone at all for Jay Boyd, who's going to have maybe be a little bit outmatched in the experience and technique department. Can he overcome it with raw athleticism? We'll have to see Saturday night at USFFC 29. And then, of course, you know, we've seen it happen before many times, Scott. The ladies will steal the show. And these two right here have just what it takes to do that. We're talking about Alex McBride with Full Circle taking on Samantha Seth with TFTC in Raleigh.
Yeah, Alex is one of those fighters that she may be upside down in her record. She's fought for us many times. But how many fight of the nights has she had? I mean, it's always an electric fight with her. Sometimes there's a lot of times I wonder how she came out at the short end of the stick, but it's amazing the type of fight she puts up, and she's definitely going to test Samantha for sure. And I know Sammy has extremely good jiu-jitsu coming with Travis Holloman and those guys at TFTC. They are very well adapted to the ground game. So, and Alex is a stand-up banger, so
right.
It's going to, we'll see. I mean, I think Sammy is going to, some have came and tested Alex, and it's just a kind of where the direction of this fight has to go is let's see who comes out on top and keeps moving forward.
Samantha Seth, perhaps the more physical of the two fighters, but Alex McBride brings that intense level of striking, and she can come at you from all different types of angles. So it's going to be a little bit of finesse versus power here. Can't wait to see that as these two ladies square off Saturday night at USFFC 29. And there's also other ladies going to be competing on the night, and that oftentimes can steal the show. Jennifer Waters takes on Shanti Sanders.
Yeah. You couldn't really put a better matchup together than that. These, just a little bit about Shanti Sanders is she trains at Modern Warrior. She did some fitness modeling. Really beautiful girl. Started training with Keith Richardson, and I've been a longtime friend of Keith. So I know that he's going to send. He's not actually. I think it's Keith's girlfriend actually, but you know he's not going to send her into the cage not prepared. So
no, Keith Richardson, a legend in the mixed martial arts world up in North Carolina, who's been fighting the game for a long time. I'd like to think he's probably taught her a couple of tricks. I would say.
I would imagine she's going to be well prepared. But now you look at Jennifer Waters. She's from down in Georgia at Siegler Karate Center. She's a 4th degree Kempo black belt. So not knowing either one and it being both of them's MMA debut, shoot, it's a toss-up with these girls, and the excitement of that fight is just one that I want to see, and I think it was not saying the matchmaker did an awesome job, but I matched that fight, and so it's going to be a one to see for sure.
Yeah, definitely one that can go either direction, but you'll only know if you actually go ahead and get your tickets or tune into FloCombat USFFC 29 this Saturday. Now, the next fight we're going to talk about, Scott, is one that also could potentially go either way between two amazing fighters, and that is Usher Dickens out of the Goon Squad, local fight club here not too far from town, and John Burke with TFTC Raleigh, who is a veteran himself.
Right. John has fought for us. He's won some, lost some. He's a talented guy. He comes to do he's growing in the game just like everyone else. Usher's bounced around from weight classes. This fight's at featherweight.
Wow.
And I've actually seen Usher fight at welterweight.
Yep.
So there's a big difference when this kid actually finds where he belongs and his size and stature catches up with where he needs to be with his skill level. I mean, we don't know what his potential is right now. So Usher's a good kid. He's a very motivated martial artist, and John's probably got the experience on him. So he's going to have to come hungry to do well with that one.
Yeah, I've seen both these guys fight in person, and both of the type that bring their whole 150% to the cage. They don't leave anything out of it, and I expect that this Saturday at USFFC 29. And the next fight is going to be another one with the exact same situation, where both these guys are going to leave it all in the cage. Of course, that is Tony Rogers, who is a veteran of this promotion, who takes on Sean Coates. Now, I've had the opportunity to watch Tony Rogers III in most of his fights here at the USFFC, and this is a guy that defines unpredictability. He defines unorthodox in terms of his striking. I mean, this guy, when you think you've seen it all, at the end of the third round, he'll pull out some combinations that you didn't know even existed, right? And then they work. And so he's got an incredible ability to really trick people on the feet. But will he be able to do that against Sean Coates?
Yeah, Tony's he's a little bit tough to match because people see him as being so unpredictable with what he's going to do. And there's a little side story to that. Back on our 22nd show, Tony's older brother, which is also Tony, they were matched for the lightweight title. And his older brother came in a touch overweight, and that fight didn't happen. So now we've got younger brother fighting the same Sean Coates that was a contender for that matchup. So Sean is long overdue for his opportunity to acquire that strap. So I know for a fact that he's excited to get that opportunity again. And maybe Tony Rogers III's excited to do what his big brother never got a chance to do. Yeah. So yeah, it's another jiu-jitsu match against a crazy unorthodox striker that could come out with anything. But
when you add that added layer of history behind the fight, you can almost feel that tension in the air. That extra dynamic that you add to it really adds something. You can feel it from the fighters as they walk out. You can feel it in the crowd as they cheer for these guys, and that's something that I expect to see this Saturday at the Spartanburg Marriott USFFC 29. And the next fight is probably going to be one of the crowd favorites. You may have to bring some earbuds for this next one as the crowd roars the name of Hannah Rokala, a local up-and-coming killer right here out of Revolution Mixed Martial Arts in Spartanburg. She takes on Brianna Smith.
I don't know a lot about Brianna. I know that we had Hannah matched for quite some time with a lady up in Ohio, and she ended up dropping off the card. So Hannah, she's a 1-0 fighter, and people duck her from all over the entire mid-Atlantic. I've looked in 7 or 8 states to find opponents for her, and it's just the fact that I guess that she's trained for so many years. She's recently just graduated high school. I think she's 18 years old. She's 1-0, and she's on the national radar already with one single fight.
One fight, that's it.
So, do we really know Hannah, or did we see her at her absolute best, or does she have more to pull from? I know that the Brianna Smith stepped in and took this fight. She's from Alabama. She's got 16 fights under her belt. So we've got a 1-0 amateur fighting somebody with 16 fights.
Wow.
So the experience level of Brianna, she's seen everything possible that Hannah can bring to the cage in that many fights. So Does she have an answer? Can she stop the hype train for Hannah? I don't know, but I really dig the fact of seeing these girls get in there and do it.
Oh yeah, this is going to be one you don't want to blink, not even once. I mean, Hannah Rokala, I mean, and having been able to sit cage side and do broadcast commentary for her last fight, I can tell you that she brings that rare combination, and the eye test is all you need, okay? Don't need to see her, the hand speed monitor. The eye test is all you need to see that she's got that rare combination of accuracy and speed. Speed kills is an old adage in sports, and it certainly applies to mixed martial arts. And she brings it, and she brings it in the likes of which you don't see that often. It's a speed and an accuracy, and you can almost see some of the footwork reminiscent of some of the Scoggins brothers right here at Revolution's Mixed Martial Arts. And you see that in Hannah's ability to fight. And I expect to see some of that Saturday, but she's going to have a tough test, and her hands full. No stepping stone is Brianna Smith, a girl with 16 fights, taking on 1-0 Hannah Rokala, happening this Saturday live at the Spartanburg Marriott, USFFC 29. And the next fight is going to be the big boys, Scott. We've got Derek Brown, who fights with Fitness Edge, coming up from Myrtle Beach. Fitness Edge is a very known gym and respected gym down in the Myrtle Beach area. And Derek Brown comes up there to fight Chase Gamble from the Piedmont Training Center.
I've known Chase a long time. He's a veteran even at the amateur level with us. Derek, I don't know so much. He's more of the other down in this scene before we actually arrived here. But the side story for this fight is Derek and Chase fought as amateurs. Derek took that fight, and it was an absolute war, but Derek Brown took a decision win over Chase. So Chase actually, when he was presented with this fight offer, didn't bat an eye. He wanted to avenge that loss, and it brings some excitement. So I know for a fact Chase has grown. He trains now with Ricky Rainey. They've got Scott Holtzman in that gym helping out from time to time. And Chase coaches wrestling, coaches football. Guy's an athlete. He has grown since those amateur days, but there's not a chance in the world I would make a call on that fight.
Yeah, that's a tough one to pick. I mean, but you know, when you're talking about two of the most toughest 205-pounders in the area, you know, I wouldn't want to put my money down on that one either. Chase Gamble takes on Derek Brown this Saturday, USFFC 29. And speaking of Derek Kennington is going to be in the house, also from Fitness Edge, coming up from Myrtle Beach. He takes on Alan Hedgehog Greenway of Team Revolution. And anyone that's an MMA fan around here has probably heard of Alan because he is a legend, a walking legend in the area of North Carolina. He's a former coach and a current fighter. Alan has said, at least correct me if I'm wrong, that this is going to be his last mixed martial arts fight.
He says that. I don't know.
Well, we're certainly sad to see him go if that's the case, because here's a 6'4" lightweight that brings not just great striking, but incredible jiu-jitsu to the table. I mean, how often do you see a 6'4" true athlete that's fighting at 155 pounds that has all the moving pieces that you need? He's got the technique, he's got the power and the speed, and he takes on a guy that has all those as well in Derek Kennington.
We had this is the fight that actually brought the most hype to this card in the beginning, when I felt like I needed some motivation to keep plugging forward to put something together. When this one came together, it was basically the cornerstone to build the whole card from. Derek is a Bellator vet. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. He's the real deal. And people for years have criticized Alan for not taking legit opponents and not fighting the level of opponent he should to prove himself. Alan is now on what is said to be his last fight, taking a very, very difficult opponent. He said he will, this is him talking to me as a friend, that he's going to go out on his shield. He's going to come out and he's going to fight the way that he would want to go out if he were to retire, which time will tell whether that actually holds true, but I think he's still got some more fight in him myself. But you know, he's definitely, nobody in the MMA community can criticize Alan anymore. He's taken a very, very tough Derek Kennington, and I'm excited to see how he matches up now that he has that level of opponent.
Yeah, and you know that hunger to compete is tough for an athlete to shake off. So you never know when it might return. But one thing we know for sure is that Alan Greenway returns to the cage. USFFC 29 this Saturday. He's going to take on Derek Kennington. Can't wait for that one. And we're getting we have even more to go. I mean, you'd think that in and of itself could be the card, but we haven't even got to the couple of main events. And so it's such an incredible lineup of fights, and I can't wait for it. Coming up, this next fight, I can't wait to talk and get your opinion on, Scott, between Congo Boca Tukanda. I may have got that wrong, but I know Dylan Cala, he's taking on his opponent. Dylan Cala is absolutely one of these guys that when you watch, he passes that eye test to when you start to think as an observer, as a fan, this guy might have what it takes to go to the big leagues. You know that he's actually got that discipline in the gym. He's a gym rat. He's the kind of guy that puts everything he's got into it. You know, he's got that full dedication. This is his full-time gig here, and so I'm excited to see how he progresses as he tries to climb his way to the top. Very confident Dylan Cala, but he's going to need to be because Congo Boca Tukanda, coming from ATT Gwinnett, now, he trains down there with the Lima brothers and Diego and those guys, and that's a very tough camp. To be forged in those fires means that he's got to be a pretty bad man himself.
I don't know that much about him. I know that his record matches Dylan's, and I have to feel like he's fought the level of competition Dylan has. Dylan is a long-time competitor with us, so I know basically everything about him. Dylan has a lot of family support. His wife, his kids are all behind him in his dream. Dylan has those tools. He walked in from his first pro fight where sometimes you can see how pro fighters, it takes them a few fights as a pro to start using those new weapons. Dylan was using the weapons on his pro debut.
Right.
He doesn't forget that those things are there, and he's just methodical with the way that he beats you down.
Yeah.
Congo, Amir Dadovic is his coach. Amir is a talented pro fighter himself. I feel like, you know, if I know anything about those guys at ATT, they're gonna bring a fight, and Dylan has took tough fights every step of the way. I mean, it's sometimes you would think we would advise him against maybe taking those tough fights early in his career, but he works a lot with Scott Holtzman. I know those guys are hand in hand, and Scott's probably giving him some insider advice to get to that big league, the big stage. So I have to feel like Dylan is well advised. He knows where he needs to be. He knows what he has to do, and the next step for Dylan is Congo. So neither one's going to come and give up, and it's going to be a fight that nobody's going to predict.
Yeah, and I tell you what, both these guys have big aspirations. You know, coming out of ATT Gwinnett, they don't raise guys that aren't in this game for the long haul. You know what I mean?
50 or more fighters in that gym. I mean, it's a beautiful facility, but you think of a gym that has 50 plus fighters that train on a day-to-day basis, and you've got a matchup against a guy that may be a wrestler and maybe 5'4", and maybe how many training partners are you going to have? I mean, they can probably mimic or model a character like Dylan and give them a perfect training representation.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't doubt that fight at all.
Oh yeah, this one could be the dark horse fight of the night without even realizing. You know, that's my early dark horse fight of the night for this one. But the next one could also steal the cake. I mean, there's no telling what will happen between Muhadin Akatib and Tanner the Hammer Saraceno. You know, a lot of people around here know Tanner and his story and history as being part of the WWE Tough Enough series. So he gained some notoriety and fame through being on that show. And Muhadin Akatib has gained some notoriety and fame by being the guy that has probably got the toughest chin maybe of any guy I've ever watched. I've watched thousands. You know which I'm talking about? He fought a couple of fights ago, and you know which one I'm talking about. And I've watched thousands of fights. I'm sure you have too. Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. Lots of fights. I cannot remember one time watching a man take the punishment that Muhadin Akatib took and still fought back. I mean, this guy, there was no putting him away. This is the quintessential immovable object. You cannot put this man away, at least unless you're Tanner the Hammer Saraceno, who thinks that he can.
Tanner claims he's got heavy hands. So
He does have heavy hands.
With somebody like a Muhaddin, Muhaddin is Jordanian, I think. I never knew because he's a little difficult to communicate with, but he's a very good guy. I mean, I saw him. He won Fight Lab up in Charlotte. He won their title up there at welterweight. So I've kind of watched him over the course of a few years. I know how tough he is. The fight you're talking about was Brad Geyer.
Okay.
Brad is just he's a beast. He had our welterweight title and defended it. Now he's making his pro debut. But anyway, Muhaddin is going to probably be a very, unless he just gets handled with Tanner's extremely strong and heavy grappling and wrestling ability, that could be. I mean, that's what I see. But I would love to see those guys stand up and exchange hands.
Yeah, well, Tanner's proven that he can do that. I mean, Tanner has knockout power. I mean, I don't know how many unconscious bodies he has to leave along the way to prove it, but he absolutely has knockout power. He's got that wrestling background to go with it, but also, when you talk about athleticism, that's something else that Tanner brings to the table. He's got conditioning like few others. I mean, here's a guy that from the beginning, he is fighting you the exact same at the end of round 3 as he was in the beginning of round 1.
No, there's no slowdown. I mean that. He trains like an animal. I mean, it's just he's a different type. He's actually got a college degree in physical training and doing stuff. So he puts so much intricacy into the way he trains physically, compared to the guy like me, go to the gym and jump on this machine, jump on this machine. This guy's working on fine twitch stuff, and just it's incredible what he can become in the days ahead, for sure.
It's going to be an amazing fight. Muhaddin Akhatib, Tanner Saraceno, happening this Saturday, and it's so cliche it kills you, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's the immovable object versus the unstoppable force.
Right.
It's too cliche, but I have to go with it anyway. Sorry about that.
Could be very, very much like the Rocky IV.
That could be close. That could be what we're talking about. That could go down in Spartanburg this Saturday.
Could be Rocky IV.
Now the main event is going to be nothing but fireworks. I mean, you will be able to feel the electricity in that air before we even get there, due to the chant of Scoggins coming from the roaring crowd that's going to be at the Spartanburg Memorial this Saturday, and Spartanburg Marriott, this Saturday. And this is a fight that should have happened in the past, but didn't due to some unforeseen problems. That tends to happen in the fight game. I'm sure you're familiar with that, Scott. But Jared Scoggins and the younger brother of Justin Scoggins, current UFC fighter, you'll see a lot of similarities in the two guys, and you'll recognize it right away. Here's a guy that brings another element of speed and footwork and head movement and accuracy and combinations, and it is fluid, and it is very, very precise and violent. And it is almost overwhelms opponents with his ability to string it all together. They seem to very rarely have an answer for the speed at which they seem to be getting hit by this man, Jared Scoggins. Chachi Tabor, on the other hand, is probably not going to fit that bill. He's a very tough guy.
Chachi's probably, from what I understand, he's the tallest opponent that Jared's ever fought. Let me speak a little bit about Chachi himself. He's asked me time and time again that he wants this fight with Jared.
Wow.
They were supposed to fight as amateurs on our card in Tennessee. Chachi had some issues in Kentucky and couldn't fight, but since then he's asked for the fight, and I said, man, do you think you're ready for that type of fight? And he said he only wants to fight the best, and he wants to make a name for himself. So what better way to make a name for yourself than to fight a kid that's already got a name for himself? Jared's the guy, just like you said, he's so fast that we kid around and say, it's all fun and games till you're fighting 3 guys. But that's what the opponent feels like. They feel like they're fighting 3 guys because of the speed and the movement that he's got. You're like looking to the left and right to make sure he's the only one in the cage. So, but Chachi was a 10-2 amateur. He was ranked on Tapology as the #1 flyweight in the southeastern United States. So, and now he's an undefeated pro. He made his pro debut. He won that easily. So now he's coming in. Both guys are undefeated. one's looking to make a name for himself, and one's wants to continue his climb to stardom. So I commend both. Jared is he's wanted to step into the pro ranks and take small steps and get his feet wet, but this is definitely immersing himself in the first challenging opponent in his pro career. I mean, the first real legit guy that both of them could end up at the next level.
Yeah, and those are two examples of many that find their way up through the ranks here at the USFFC, and it's so awesome to watch these, you know, firebrand talents make their way up through the ranks, and we've seen it happening so many times, and there are probably quite a few that are going to be fighting this Saturday that will one day go on to be in the upper echelon, the highest echelons of mixed martial arts. I know, no doubts, it happens all the time.
Look at this fight card in less than 18 months.
Oh yeah.
Look back on this fight card.
That's a safe bet. That's a safe bet right there. And it's happening this Saturday. It's at the Spartanburg Marriott. The only way that you can watch it is if you're in that area and you get your tickets at USFFCMMA.com, or you watch it live at FloCombat.com. It's going to be an amazing lineup of fights. You don't want to miss it. I'll have the honor of being cage side doing the broadcast commentary, and I'm sure you'll be running around calm and collected and cool because everything will be going perfectly, right, Scott?
It always is.
All right, well, Scott, thank you, my friend. Great to see you as always, and hope to see you guys Saturday night at USFFC 29, the Edge of Enmity.